edition of our weekly Peace Talk Show. This is the show that is brought to you to discuss on issues surrounding our national peace and security. As I told you the last time, or last week, that we actually have started a new edition that is engaging civil society organizations in trying to engage them to see how best and what they are doing to ensure that the upcoming election and all the subsequent elections are peaceful. Today we have some reputable institutions represented by some very bright and smart individuals and personalities who are here to be engaged throughout. But in the meantime, before going further, I must profoundly apologize to you for the late start. To be frank enough, we've started late. My guests, I know the viewers are all exhausted, but we actually are very sorry. It's not our will. We wish to start it as early as this time stipulated. But unfortunately, we could not. But that is beyond our making. Coming to Mr. Juf. Mr. Juf, you're welcome to the Peace Talk Show. And can you say hello to our esteemed followers?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo, for having me. I am happy to be here. And good morning to our viewers. And good morning to my colleague here, Mr. Jallo, from the Peace Ambassadors.
Thank you very much. He is Modu S. Juf. Is the Senior Program Officer at Gambia Press Union. And also we have a very bright and a very smart personality here who is also a Peace Ambassador, Mr. Jallo.
Welcome. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here, and we want to say a very big greetings to our viewers at this program today.
Thank you very much. He is Momodu Juju Jallo, the program manager at Peace Ambassadors. And also we will be joined by Malik Jatta, who is the executive or interim executive director of Patriotic Youth Movement. So today, actually, as I told you, it's all civil society businesses, and next week will be the last, episode of that one also. Today our topic is same as the one that we discussed the last week. That is role of civil society organizations in promoting peaceful elections. So we know that the country cannot move without civil society organizations. They also play their quota. And in this regard, before we move further, I don't know whether GPU is under a civil society organization, but I know that GPU is a press, how do you call it? It's a pressure group, sort of. But what is GPU doing to ensure that, or what are the activities that GPU is doing to ensure that our upcoming election is peaceful? You can give us a rundown of activities that GPU is also doing, because you have a stake in this.
Thank you very much. The Gambia Press Union is also a civil society organization. And while broadly we work towards promoting press freedom and freedom of expression, we are also involved in a lot of other issues that has to do with the conduct of peaceful and successful elections in the Gambia. The Gambia Press Union is a member of the Civil Society Coalition on Elections. And over the past weeks, we have been conducting a series of trainings for journalists on election reporting, but also on conflict-sensitive reporting. In August, we reached up to 95 journalists from the online, from radio, newspapers, and also community radios. Journalists. It was a collaboration with IFES that we did those trainings. It was on election reporting and also conflict-sensitive reporting. Such trainings were meant to make journalists understand their roles deeper, because they are refresher courses about how to report on the elections. And a lot of the journalists who would be reporting in these elections, upcoming elections, who were not privy or were not even in the media over the last 5 years when the last elections was held, they had an opportunity to be trained on these things. So part of the training also, a lot of emphasis was made on conflict-sensitive reporting, because we expect the media not to be a drivers of conflict. They should know what they could report that could cause conflict or problems or bring about violence during our elections. So while we try to hold candidates and political parties, including the incumbent, accountable when we report about the elections, the campaigns and all other things, we should also mind the language and the type of phrases that we use. Also be mindful when leaders speak on political platforms, and try to incite violence or try to bring about statements of hate and those kind of stuff, that journalists do not amplify such bad messages. So that's just one aspect of the things that we've been doing as the Gambia Press Union towards the conduct of peaceful elections. But also just over the last 2 weeks, we concluded trainings on hate speech for journalists to understand. These were trainings supported by the UNDP, you know, and we've reached up to 75 journalists from the print, electronic, online, radio and TV, and also from community radios, for them to understand what hate speech is. You know, they are able to identify this when they cover the elections or the campaigns and the entire election process, and also that they make sure that they understand these things and are not the ones fanning hate speech. They should know how to tackle issues of hate speech. So these are our major interventions that we've been doing towards the conduct of a peaceful elections in the Gambia come December and beyond.
Yes, come December and beyond, GPU is restless and GTU is relentless, you know, in ensuring that the election is peaceful. And in this regard, they are giving all the necessary ingredients to their journalists or their people to ensure that they give adequate, necessary and ethical information to people, and which is going to be, you know, consumable. And coming to Mr. Jallo. Mr. Jallo, you are a member of Peace Ambassador and you are a senior program manager, for that matter, or a program manager. And do you think that the political atmosphere is assuring us peaceful election?
Yes, I will say no, and I will say yes.
Okay.
As a matter of let me just go down a bit. At Peace Ambassadors level, what we do, one of our objectives is to inculcate peace in the minds of people. And looking at since 2016 today, we have engaged into a lot of activities. First of its kind, we monitor or in fact observe party congresses, because these are government in the making. And I think it's important we know what they are, whether they are Democrats and what are they doing and what is their policies and their program. So that's one part. And coming back to our engagement with the young people, because initially we were called youth ambassadors, but later on we changed it, because if you say youth, you are specifically targeting a group. But when you say peace ambassadors, is everybody is, you know, is involved in that. So that's bring up the change of the name. So coming back to your question, whether it's going to be a peaceful election come to December, I will say no, and also yes, but I will bring my fact. Looking at the political trend right now in the country, we have engaged 1,200 people within 3 weeks. We went around to talk to people and know what is happening, what are they talking about, what is the political climate, and whether they are prepared for the election. But most of the things people are telling us outside is about this hate speech. The political parties are attacking each other based on maybe not even on policies and program, but whoever says something which you know that is not in line, you attack that person. They at that level are attacking Ocha. This thing is going down to the grassroots because they have a lot of influence, you know, on the ground. So, and also the misconception of democracy is also another issue also which we found out on the ground. And the other thing is this bullying on the social media. There are a lot of bullying happening in the social media, individual attacking each other because of you have political differences. So, but what we realize at our end, politics does not mean attacking each other. You know, it's just you have your idea, I have my idea, but we all have one objective, to make Gambia a better place. So if those mindsets are not changed, if our political leaders did not change their attitude, the way they attack people, let them debate on policies and programs, you know, there'll be a lot of issues in the politics, because we engage them. What they normally tell us, I don't know, even the time I was coming, I was saying that Mba Wutula for Konyambo. Yeah. So I used to hear people say that. Yeah. So Mba Wutula Konyambo this is the early warning system, is sending a signal. So there's a lot of advocacy which is needed in the grassroots and everybody, and let the politicians know Gambia, whatever happen, Gambia come first, and then let them come out and preach peace. Running down to our imams and our alcalos, everybody should have to engage, to see how best we can able to preach peace, and then he come, before election or even after or whatever. So I think that's important, to see how best we can able to preach peace. If that is not happening, there will be a lot of issues come December.
There will be a lot of issues. But one thing that I'm also going to tax you is that peace ambassadors, as the name implies, you must not be restless.
No, restless is a no-go
area. And let me come to my good brother here. Mr. Diouf, responsibility of media is very key. And you will understand that, some will say, okay, journalists do not know what they are doing, or they don't know what they're doing. And you, as a senior program manager of GPU here, sitting here today, representing GPU as an institution, what are the responsibilities of media and journalists during election?
The media has a great role to play in ensuring free, fair, and transparent elections. Its responsibility majorly are two issues: educating, but there is also a third component to it, holding accountable leaders or candidates who want to take up elective positions. And in doing so, the media definitely would have to look at the issues that these candidates said they are going to solve. There are a lot of problems, and during elections, various political parties and their leaders have issues and ideas of what the problems for the country are and what need to be solved. In doing this, the media should hold them accountable on how they are going to solve this problem. But not only that, it's the responsibility of journalists to go to the grassroots, speak to the people. What are their problems? Probably politicians might sit out there and define his own ideas and problems, but maybe that's not the main concern or the primary or the priority for the grassroots. What do those people want? So a role of journalists during this election period is also to go to the grassroots, and report, give these people a voice. Let these politicians know what these people want, so that when they come to power, they are able to give that back to them. But also, it's the job of journalists to inform people adequately, informing them about what's happening. Various political parties, what is it that they are bringing to the plate? What are the problems that they have identified, and what do they want to solve? How are they going to solve it? Who is who? Among all these presidential candidates. People need to be adequately informed about the electoral processes, the role of the independent electoral commissions, and every other electoral stakeholder involved, so that at the end of the day, they can make informed decisions when they are going to choose their leaders.
Ethical reporting or communication is very important. And, history has shown that, sometimes, journalists could be part of factors that resulted to some conflicts. How is GPU equipping, their journalists to ensure that, they give the people the appropriate information?
Yeah, what we've been doing with ethics is that recently the GPU launched the Cherno Jallo Charter of Ethics for Journalists. It's the code of conduct for media houses and journalists in the Gambia. It was launched in May on World Press Freedom Day. This is a comprehensive ethical guide for Gambian journalists, which have the core principles of journalism, but also various segments, including on election reporting, reporting on women and children and those kind of issues. This is an important guide for journalists when they are reporting, things that they can do and things that they should not do. Things that they should not do when they are reporting on elections that could cause conflict, that could bring about chaos and those kind of stuff. So that is a major guide, and we've been distributing, it's printed, we've been distributing these copies For all the trainings that I was mentioning that we are doing, for every set we distribute. So far we've distributed about 117 copies of this, but also we have been sharing to the soft copy, so it's accessible to every journalist in the country.
That is wonderful. Some said some media houses are biased, some journalists are associated with being biased. We have a lot of political parties also that are operating now online televisions. How are these things giving challenge to GPU?
Well, let me just focus on the mainstream media before I come to platforms set up by political parties. For the mainstream media, a core principle of journalism or ethical guide, which is universally accepted, is that we have to be impartial. You know, we don't have to be biased when we report the news, especially during elections. But it's not only for elections, but it's very crucial that journalists are impartial when they report about issues during elections. That's a fundamental role that they should take. The moment you start taking sides, you lose credibility. People don't see you, but it's also you are violating your own code of conduct, right? The issue of political parties having their own media platforms and running their own things is problematic for the mainstream media. For one reason is that most of those people who are in those political party platforms are not trained journalists. They are not guided by our own code of conduct. So they do things in their own way, and most of it could be unethical. Also, a lot of their platforms, especially on social media, they share a lot of fake news and those kind of things. And they're involved in a lot of personal attacks. And the GPU is not in control of that. But in the future, this is not going to be immediate. We have plans to bring those people on board to train them on the basics of journalism, and also on how to adhere to some ethical journalism ethics, you know, so that even though it's owned by political parties, you know, these are mouthpieces. They naturally would not be impartial, you know, they would be biased towards their own political party. But they know that there are limits, you know, to some of the things that you can do, even if you are a political party organ as a media organization. And you have to follow some journalism ethics,
follow some journalism ethics. Time is not there and you are supposed to go. I'm sorry, Mr. Jallo. He's supposed to go, and, you know, Mr. Jata is supposed to join us live soon. And Mr. Diouf, perhaps you can give, you know, a summary or an advice to your fellow journalists. Because when people see me sitting here, I tell them I'm not a journalist. I am a peace advocate. And in that regard, I sit here in the capacity of a peace advocate. So we, the peace advocates, are very mindful with any word that we release, because a word release, you know, is a word that can be consumed back again. So what advice do you have for your fellow journalists as this election is approaching and media is one of the key stakeholders in this?
Yeah, what I have to tell my fellow journalists, that we'll all be covering the elections. Individual journalists who work for themselves, like freelance journalists, and also media organizations. The most important thing we do is to stick to our own ethical guidelines when we report on the elections. You know, it's not only about the Cheno Jallo Charter of Ethics for Journalists, which is the GPU Code of Conduct, but also the IEC has worked with the Gambia president in the past to develop guidelines for reporting on the elections for media houses, and it's available on the IEC website, and you know, it could be accessed. That journalists all Gambian journalists should ensure that they report accurately about the elections, you know, that they report fairly, you know. If they are reporting about the campaigns and what people say, let them give all candidates equal timing and equal opportunities to be heard, you know, but also let them ensure that the ordinary people also are heard. They are able to share their views about what is happening. The most important thing journalists should ensure is that not to be used as vehicles to spread conflict or violence, you know. If people are spreading issues of hate speech, you know, attacking each other instead of addressing issues, I would advise journalists not to give them the platform to spew those kind of messages.
You will advise the journalists not to give platform to people who will come to the stage and cause chaos, because once there is chaos or chaos is casted, no one knows who is going to be affected. So in that regard, we all have a role to play. Whether you are in the print, whether you are in the press, whether you are online or offline, we all have to ensure that we report responsibly. So what we are doing is that as journalists, as those that are in the media, which I am part of, we have to ensure that we do things in accordance with principles of standards. Thank you very much, Mr. Juf, and we are grateful to have you here today. And God bless you. And Mr. Malik Jata will join us live. But let me come to Mr. Jallo. Mr. Jallo, disinformation and misinformation can be a recipe for conflict. Do you think we can combat this? Because we have seen this thing, over and over in the country here, like Mr. Juf has stated here. So how do you think we can control this disinformation and misinformation?
Yeah, I think one thing people need to understand, information is powerful and it's also security. And we need to be in that cognizant of the fact to see the information we are taking out. I still want to go back to the engagement we are having with the people. Most of this violence which are happening is caused by, most of the time it's caused by all these telephones you are seeing, this WhatsApp, the Facebooking and all those things. You will see someone just go into your own small corner, release an audio and send it out, and how many people are getting that message? For example, now I just get in and then insult all the fullers. Whoever is a fuller, you listen to that audio, you will be angry, and maybe it's that the person who uttered that message or so is not even a fuller. So I think it's important we need to take that responsibility. When we see such messages in our telephones, which will bring chaos or so, let us try and then delete it, and then let us be responsible in that aspect. People need to be aware, and problems. People need to be aware. Problems actually, it does not take us anywhere. And we need to be so frank to each other, and we tell each other the truth. Because look at the problems which are happening around. Most of the time when you make a deep research on it, they will tell you it's about miscommunications and here and there.
I had it here.
I had it here.
And you don't confirm it.
Exactly. So these are the things.
We have to be very mindful with the information that we hear.
Exactly.
And you are right. People normally send me a lot of WhatsApp audios and messages telling me that you claim to be a so-called peace, activist, but listen to these audios. When I had those kind of issues sometimes, like I heard that Mr. Jallo is the one who said this, or is from your particular group, I call you and say, Mr. Jallo, this particular audio I had, so and so, is it actually authoritatively from your party, But before going there further, let me welcome our good brother here, Mr. Malik Jata, who is the interim executive director of Patriotic Youth Movement. Mr. Jata has also joined us live online here to discuss on the topic that we are discussing here today. And Mr. Jata is one of those bright young people who are relentlessly working towards ensuring peaceful election. Mr. Jata, patriotic, what I like your hat.
Thank you. Well, brother, I want to correct you first. It's not Jata, it's Jaju.
God.
And also, it's not interim executive director, interim chairperson. Yeah, but definitely, I'm honored to be here. Okay. You're doing a great job. Okay. Thank you for inviting us here. Okay. And also to Fatu Network too for creating this platform. To your entire viewership, I say Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. We apologize for that. I was calling him Jata, and on the whole is Jaju. But Mr. Chairperson, I would not call you interim. I'll call you chairperson because interim does what the chairperson actually do.
I'm still interim.
Mr. Chairperson, we have seen that recent elections in Africa where some of them were marred with violence. You understand? And what lessons do you think Gambia can learn from them?
It is very difficult for people to appreciate what they have sometimes if they've never lost it, or they've never experienced the opposite side of it. So sometimes the peace of this country, people take it for granted. Because the 1981 incident, most of us have not witnessed it. The incidents in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in the genocide in Rwanda. You have the Arab Spring, those wars, the Afghanistan, Europe in the 1940s, mid-1940s and Asia. So we've not experienced such things here as a people. So it's very difficult for us to appreciate this peace that we have. But yet, let us not pass from memory that pre-election and post-election violence has costed really. You see the incidents in Guinea-Conakry right now, recently, and also in Kenya too, in Senegal too, when Macky Sall was coming into office. So these were all lessons for people to learn from, because the loss of a life, just one life, is a great cost to a nation. Talk less of lives being lost, properties, and intolerance rising. It's something that really costs nations, and economically, physically, and socially. So these are things that we really need to grow from the Gambia. That is, we need to understand that election violence is no good thing to us. You can take lessons in Nigeria too. That's the structure in Nigeria.
So basically, in short, you will tell us that peace in the Gambia is important in what aspect, because it enables us to do what and what.
Yeah, like I said, it will be very difficult for us to do justice to this topic. People like me, because we've not witnessed these outrageous conflicts or violence and whatnot. But we're saying for every sustainable development to take place, there must be peace and tranquility. So I think this is enough lesson for us to understand as a people that the nations that develop, they developed in the presence of peace.
On the basis of peace, because peace is a fundamental pillar, and in fact it's a natural resource that cannot be recycled. Mr. Jallo, peace ambassadors, what are you doing in promoting peaceful elections? I've been seeing your flyers, your activities all over, and follow it. In fact, I'm one of the key followers of your activities. What are you doing to promote peaceful elections?
Yeah, what we are doing in that safe corner where we are is, as I said, the objective of Peace Ambassadors is to inculcate peace in the minds of people. And the only way we can do that is to advocate for peace and preach peace and sensitize and conscientize people in that aspect. That's the bottom line. And also let people know there is no way to peace, but peace is the only way. So as people and as Gambians, we should give peace a chance. Across the individuals, the political parties, the media, whoever, we should try and then, give peace a chance, and that's the only way we can progress. As my brother rightly mentioned, there will be no development if there is no peace. Because if you see us, because actually peace also does not only mean in the absence of war. Because even if you are hungry, you are not in peace. So these are some of the things actually at our corner we try to advocate and sensitize people every day. Yeah.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Peace Ambassadors is doing tremendous, to be frank enough. Mbadingol mbe mobe kontonna halbento la jibe kanjang bi fanang jumalungo murna la jam Fatu Network tele bundala mbe kachala minialonko bundal minialonko wollebe loring angalel ko civil society organizations pour kaje ko ifanambe ken lo nyamin takan walla be mun kulla ke kam police aje ko ka kairo kala kuo bunyandi mol may saje na carte fo mi alon ka bina kan dem ay taning nyala mi alon ko nyawo se wala mi alon ko aseke fitno tanoti so bi ngam malik Sotajang Mialonko Ate, he is actually representing Adebe Botnang Patriotic Youth Movement. Niamo Patriotic Wolong Momian Kalaf Tala Bankola, youth Wolong funding kill the movement ila Tanya some from Buffalo Wolnya. And Peace Ambassador, Niamo Peace Ambassador Wolong Atodu Famway Malambo Folanya Matikako. Peace Ambassador simply means representative of a peace, so actually, he's here representing us as a peace ambassador. So, Mr. Jata, how can we have election peacefully without resorting to violence?
Well, it all has to do with teaching the people. In the Gambia, it is very sad that our civic education is very, very weak. We have an institute. But look at the location of the institute, in fact, in Koto there. In fact, not many people know that there is an institute in the Gambia that has to do with civic education. But so you see how weak it is. But these are the people that should be teaching the people the essence of having a peaceful election. Not just peaceful election, but then trying to make people conscious of their reality. Because if people are not conscious of their reality, then there will be no peace. Because like the statement we issued from the PYM on the International Day of Peace, we said 3 things. So long as they are apparent in our society, there cannot be any lasting peace. First is illiteracy. Because an ignorant person knows no law. So someone who doesn't know the law cannot uphold the dictates of the law. Like the American sociologist said, William Du Bois, he said, either United States of America destroys ignorance or ignorance will destroy the United States of America.
That's wonderful.
Yes, so we move to the next, and that is oppression. So long as people are physically, economically, or politically subjugated, there cannot be no peace. Because what Marcus Garvey said, he said no race will remain oppressed, no individual race will remain oppressed forever. So someday people have to rise up to realize their freedom, and then this brings violence, and then it brings conflicts. So the next will be poverty, like my brother rightly mentioned. We argued poverty. Like Nelson Mandela said, he said overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity, it is justice. And also Mahatma Gandhi said, poverty is the worst form of violence. So long as this is apparent in our society, you know, we cannot achieve peace. But what do? Is first, we teach the people. We make people conscious of their reality. We make people conscious of their history. And not just the history that is being taught in the school. No, their actual history. That is that Ubuntu philosophy that says, I am because we are. That I see myself in the lot, I see myself in the group. Then what happens is we love one another. We understand that we cannot do without each other. This is one way of having peaceful elections, that we make people conscious of their reality. The next thing is we indulge on the government to employ the youth, to make sure that the youths are engaged. And then to make youths conscious of the reality that not just the government to employ them, but for them to create the avenues for themselves. We need to rise up. So this is Joseph, like a greater responsibility to the National Council for Civic Education to make people conscious of their reality. But also on our part as civil societies, we also rise up. Like at the PYM, we said we educate the people to teach them their reality, and not just this history that has been taught to the people, or like or not, but their true history.
Their true history. I can see we have actually, you know, a patriotic Gambian and a Pan-Africanist as well here today. Mr. Jallo, time is going, and actually we're supposed to wrap up soon. Mr. Jallo, before we go, I give you the final question. Let me give you this. Which institutions supposed to be strengthened in order to have, you know, or to ensure peaceful elections? Institutions like, you know, IEC and a host of others, you know, better.
Yeah, in order to have a peaceful election, I know civil society organizations are also doing their quota, what they can do by sensitizing people, teaching them peace. But one key institution in the Gambia is the civic education, that's NCCE. These are people which need to be empowered. These are people which need to be given all the arms of on advocacy, on how best they can able to reach, because that's what it's an act of parliament. That's why they are there. So I think the government need to, because it's a cross-cutting thing. You know, it's not only them, but it's all of us. It's everybody's. You know, should need to see themselves as people who can preach peace, and because if they are empowered, you know, the work will be, you know, at least will be minimized. But I think I will urge the government to, you know, engage these people, give them all the tools. The NCCE, give them all the tools, and because sometimes, you know, they also write projects, and then we all be in the same platform, you know, pursuing for one thing, you know. So I think these are some of the things. I think the government should, you know, turn their face to see how best they can, you know, empower the NCCE, and also the IEC too, you know, because they are the white blood cell. You know, anything what happen, you know, they are in control, they are the referee. So these are also people which need to be empowered very well, and as the civil society also, they do their quota, and then we all work together collectively in order to ensure a peaceful election comes December.
Time is going. Mr. Jada, before second to last question, Mr. Jada, what is PYM doing to promote peaceful election?
Well, for now, what we're doing is to engage the voters. We engage the voters in different facets, try to talk to them, seek their opinions on the current political situation, and then they're like what they think could be better, like a sort of a recommendation from them. And then we understand basically who we're talking to. Then we engage them and talk to them about the need to keep peace, because the issue here is we are the brothers. That politician came they come once in every 5 years. We vote for them, they go into offices, they're not conscious of the pain that we go through, they're not conscious of our plight and whatnot. So we face it together. Like the brother that wears a UDP t-shirt, I wear an NPP t-shirt, we go to the market. What you buy a bag of rice for is what I'm going to use to buy a bag of rice for. You understand? So we face the plight together. So we make people conscious of this. Like when the price of rice goes up, we face it together. That politician doesn't face it because he's right there in the office. In fact, it's the Gambian people that are buying rice for him, so he's not worried. So we go down, engage everything on different facets of the economy, and then we try to understand that man nga am yotam man tam yola am. So that brotherhood.
That is wonderful, as is in fact stated in our national anthem. So, Mr. Jatta, what advice do you have for the youths? Because youths are great stakeholders in this. That can give you that can be your concluding remark, as the advice you have for youths.
We always engage the youth, but it's not about just this time. It's about everything, the future. In the Gambia, basically, we have this system in this country. I just wake up in a UDP home, or in an NPP home, or in a PDOIS home, then I'm automatically PDOIS, or I'm automatically UDP or NRP, because my father is supporting that party. So automatically I become a member of that party. First, I want to say we need to deparade ourselves from that mental slavery. When we say mental slavery, we don't just mean just following the white man. No. People have been mentally enslaved within the family setting. Do you understand? Yeah, you cannot just wake up and then you support a political party because you found your family supporting the political party. Every single human being should be principled and should have an agenda in life and should go in line with that party that suits his principles. Do you understand? That satisfies his agendas and whatnot. So first I say the youths, let us make research. Yeah, let's make research to make sure that we find that particular political party that suits our agenda and principle. Secondly, we say 2021 is either concretizing the wrong or correcting the wrong. So I implore on every single youth out there, don't be decisive right now, because we don't know the candidates that are running. Still now IEC has not released the candidates that have successfully endorsed. So what we say is do not decide yet. Let's go through the campaign, listen to every politician, whosoever is out there, whose programs are attainable, achievable, and then we trust, then we vote for. Until that last day of the campaign, do not decide. Let's follow the campaign all through. And then I'm saying to them, don't vote for any doggy politician.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jatta. Jatta, right? Jaju. I'm missing this Jaju and Jatta. I don't know where I picked this, Jatta from, but okay, Mr. Jallo, you also can give your concluding remark, as an advice to civil society organizations on what they should do and what should keep on motivating them.
Yeah, as I just said, it's a cross-cutting thing. Peace is a daily routine thing, and we should start now catching them young and growing with them, like that tender age. We should be preaching peace. We should be talking to them peace and peace-related issues, so that when these people grow up, they will not be that violent person. That's why we have a component in PAC, which we call the APPM, ambassadors, peer peace motivators. We catch them young and grow with them. So I think these are some of the things we need to do, and also we need to fasten our belt as the plane is going. We talk to each other. Let's talk to each other. I think once we talk to each other, we will understand The Fulas will tell you if two people fight, they did not talk to each other. But once they talk to each other, they will never fight. Let's engage the young people. And let the young people know, let us not allow politicians to use us as a political. We all know what happened in 2011 in the Ivory Coast. More than 3,000 young people lost their life. Not long ago, we saw Alassane Ouattara and Laurent Gbagbo shaking hands, drinking tea. So this should be an example for us. Let us not try to, let us not allow politicians to use us. As my brother rightly mentioned, let's vote based on policies and programs, because the future of this country lies on our hands.
The future of this country lies on our hands as youths. And let's vote wisely. Not my word. I'm paraphrasing the words of our able guest here today, who is Mr. Jallo. We heard what he said. Mr. Jallo, Maliki, and Modu Juf of GPU, they've all actually, stated or, said here some very important, messages which actually are consumable and which can go down a long way in addressing some of the challenges that we are having in our society here. So Mr. Jata and Mr. Jaju and Mr. Jallo, and today, fortunately, we have all the guests here are JJJs, So we actually are very grateful to your coming, and you can say thanks to our viewers, and we go.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and see you next week. God bless you all.